Hello and welcome to part 3 of this 4.6 kilometre entertainment guided tour. This will be going from Leicester Square station to Covent Garden. We'll be doubling back on some parts of the route that we've done before, but only for a short period. And just as we sort of see the map from here, we're just going to go back from Leicester Square to St Martin's Lane, and then we're going to go down Garrick Street down towards King Street. This will bring us directly into Covent Garden. We're not going to stay there very long, we're just going to go to the end and then come out into Bow Street, really to just show you two main other sites in here. One's going to be the Royal Opera House and the other one would be Bow Street's Magistrate Courts. A bit of a history around that part of London. And then we'll come back to Covent Garden Station, ready for the last leg. So that's what we'll be seeing. And as before, we'll just go and take you on a quick photo run at speed. This route is only about 0.9 of a kilometre, so again a very short one. Again, it's always best to do this first thing in the morning. And this is what the route will look like. So with the tube station in front of us, we're just going to continue down between the two tube station entrances, and then as we get to the next junction, which will be around St Martin's Lane, and Long Acre will be right in front of you, and this is actually going to take us into Garrick Street, and the first building that we see is the Garrick Club on our right hand side, and we've got Floral Street on our left. And then as we get halfway up the street, we've got a pub, but we're going to turn left into King Street, and this will bring us just at the side of Covent Garden. So Covent Garden will now be on our right hand side. We've got the Apple Store on our left, and we just keep on going until we get to the end, and we just turn right and then first left, and then this will bring us onto Bow Street. We turn left into Bow Street, and this will bring us up past the Royal Opera House on our right hand side, and it will also bring us past the Bow Street Magistrate Court on our left. As soon as we pass that, and we take a very sharp left-hand turn, so we've got the Opera House on our left. We just go down that Floral Street till we get to the end, and the first turn in on our right, so we're back in Covent Garden. We turn right, and we'll just be outside the tube station, and that's where it ends. Okay, so now we want to go and have a look at some of the sites along the route. Okay, so this is the 360 view, very similar to what we saw last time, and I'm just pointing you in the direction of where we're going, up towards St Martin's Lane. So if you remember when we first started the tour, we actually came down this route and across the road into Leicester Square, but we're just going to go back along between these two entrances to the station towards St Martin's Lane. Now when we first went through this, I originally just skipped over this part, but I just want to just cover this now. And so we're at almost like a five-way junction here. On our left hand side, as we're looking at this now, there's St Martin's Lane, which is going down left past Bella Italia in Garrick Street. So this is St Martin's Lane, and across there is Upper St Martin's Lane. Now if we look at this actually goes from Trafalgar Square going north, and this would have been one of the main routes going north before Charing Cross Road was built. So it was originally in place at about 1610, and the main things I just want to draw your attention to is that again it has a number of theatres. So we do have theatres such as the Duke of York and the Noel Coward Theatre just along that street, but we also have the English National Opera Coliseum Theatre, which is just at the bottom near St Martin's Lane or St Martin's Church. Across the road from this junction there is another theatre called the Arts Theatre, and for those who are interested in Harry Potter, at the end of this street is the little alleyway that at the beginning of the Half-Blood Prince, when the Millennium Bridge was destroyed, that's where the Death Eaters zipped up. But we're actually going to just take you a little trip up to the northern part, or Upper St Martin's Lane, which will actually bring you into St Giles, because there you have the Ivy restaurant, which is probably one of the most expensive or exclusive restaurants in London. It started in 1917, and it was mainly focused on arts and the media. And there is a hidden entrance to the Ivy Club with a special third floor rooftop view. However, you can experience some of the magic of the Ivy with several Ivy brasseries around, which have similar styles and taste, but at a more accessible price. And there's one in Covent Garden, should you be interested. There is also one of the longest running theatre performances at St Martin's Theatre called The Mousetrap. This has had over 25,000 performances and was originally put together for Queen Mary, who was the wife of George V in 1952, based on an Agatha Christie story. Now this is based on a true case about a foster care abuse of a young boy called Dennis O'Neill. It's a true story, but the ending in the particular play is not revealed at all. So when you go and see it, it's a part of keeping that secret. The other theatre nearby there is called the Ambassador Theatre. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go along the route that we intend to do from here, which is really just to go down Garrick Street. The thing that I want to point out to you is the Garrick Club, which is just on the right-hand side. So it's not particularly difficult to miss because it is quite an old building, formed in 1831. And this is a gentleman's club or a private social club, which is focused on the patronage of drama. Originally, its members came from peers of the realm. There were writers, there were actors, musicians and publishers. But it does focus on the literary society and supporters of drama, and it includes a theatrical library as well as looking at the costumes of the theatre. There's a lot of famous names, including Henry Irving, Laurence Olivier, Stephen Fry, John Gielgud, some British actors there, as well as writers such as H.G. Wells and A.A. Milnes, who was famous for Winnie the Pooh. It's called the Garrick Club after actor, playwright, producer and theatre manager called David Garrick, who lived from the 1700s. A bit further along the street, next thing to do, slightly different, you'll come across an alleyway. So if I just turn a bit to the left hand side in here, you'll see a small pub up there called the Lamb and the Flag. And the reason I'm just stopping there is because of the bare knuckle fights, prize fights that used to go on there. And with a nickname called the Bucket of Blood, you can probably understand what was going on there. Now what is also interesting is that there's a little alleyway in between here, and that is where the poet John Dryden was attacked by, in a sense, Charles II's hitmen for a satirical poem that he wrote about one of Charles II's mistresses called Louise. So we're going to just continue down through Covent Garden, down King Street, not stopping too much along here, and then we'll just go past the entrance, which we're going to come back down to shortly, past the Apple store, just go to the end, and we're just going to continue this until we through to Russell Street, until we get to Bow Street Junction, because at this particular point I just want to talk about two other areas in here. One's called the Royal Opera House and Bow Street Magistrate Court. So this is quite a bit of a whistle-stop tour, this one. So when we get to the Royal Opera House, there's two contrasting images here. On the left-hand side, we have the wonderful Royal Opera House, which was instigated originally again by Charles II in 1732, but it burnt down twice in 1808 and 1856, and so this building dates back from 1858. The atrium is called the Paul Hanley Hall, and it is the home for the Royal Ballet and Opera. It was originally called the Theatre Royal, but it changed its name in 1892 to the Royal Opera House. Now the auditorium here is massive. It can hold up to 2,250 people. And although we sometimes think that opera is expensive, they do have tickets ranging from £4 to £200, not so many at £4. But the prices can be seen as being comparable to what you might pay at a top-rate football match. Now the thing about opera, and probably also about football really, is that it engages all your senses. So you can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it. And that sort of atmosphere can really set off all these senses and enhance your enjoyment. So it's exciting, it's dramatic, and it also has some sunny spells during the performance generally. Again, quite similar to both football and British weather. But if you do get a chance to go to an opera, especially one like this, I would recommend it. However, I would suggest that you first know the story so you can at least follow it along the way and you don't get too overwhelmed. Now, turning to the right, we then have something quite a bit different, because in front of us, in this quite austere building here, is the Bow Street Magistrates Court. Now, within inside this area of London, we had our first police force called the Bow Street Runners. Now, the reason we had it is because this was quite a big area of entertainment, but there was quite a number of gin palaces, and that brought a lot of crime with the thievings, large-scale prostitution, and there was drunkenness all in the area. And the people who ran the theatres wanted to clean up the area, so they instigated the first police force. Now, we need to just understand a little bit about policing at the time. Before the police were there, if you wanted to arrest someone, you needed to do it for yourself. Now, there were things like bounty hunters around where you could go and catch a criminal, such as a highwayman, and get a reward between £40 and £100. But for the normal individual, that was going to be quite difficult. And there was quite a number of gangs operating in the area. And there was a magistrate in this court here called Henry Fielding, and he instigated the first professional police force. He only had 6 officers at the time, but they were there to find the criminals and bring them directly to Bow Street Magistrate Court so that they could be given justice. He was able to show how effective this police force was because it cleared the gangs very quickly. But he also set standards for all future police forces, which would set the scenes for the Metropolitan Police Force, which would come later. So he got funding, he had a good clerical systems, he started forensics, and had a process for both charging and going through the prosecution process. He also had a group of mounted police who went specifically after the highway robbers, and this was a crack police force so good that they were given their own names as well, called the Robin Redbreasts, basically because of their red uniforms that they wore. Now, the interesting thing about a police station in Britain is you tend to see the blue light outside it to signify that it is a police station. But the Bow Street Magistrates was different, that it had a white light outside it. Because when Queen Victoria came to the theatre, or came to the opera, she didn't like the blue light because that reminded her of Prince Albert, who had only very recently died. So there's a little piece of trivia for you. Okay, so we're going to just go at the very side of this building here, the Royal Opera House, just to finish the run, between the Floral Street and St James Junction. And we just go to the end, and once we come to the end, we just turn immediately right, and the start of the next run outside Covent Garden Tube Station. And that ends this part of the run.